I don't know what possessed me to start that way, but hey. How's everyone doing? I mean, I don't think anyone's tuned in yet, but, you know. Take your time. Okay, so last week, spent a little time on the lower floor here to get this a little more towards what I wanted. Things seem pretty good. I think it's basically what I want out of the layout. May need to tweak it a little bit to support. Hey, Nevin. Hey, Hero. How you doing? Hopped in last week and said I just disappeared. Oh no, you're good. Honestly, I didn't remember. I didn't remember how long you were there. I just remember that you were, because you're quite dependable. So yeah, might need to tweak some stuff a little on the ground floor here, but I think it is basically where we want it right now. And then, of course, I spent quite a bit of time on this initial read right here, and this sort of first puzzle to have the player hop up to get to this second story window. Oh yeah, I think I need to figure out a way to make sure that the player can't jump over the gate that's around the corner here. Yeah, something odd about this, and you know, it's not a problem in the build itself, but because of these like candle prefabs on here, see, it's not even showing up as an entity really, which is odd. Basically, I just use these candle prefabs to place for like filler lights under this stuff. They don't render in the lighting preview in the editor for some reason, but as you can see from the Twitter photo I posted last week, right after the stream, there's definitely lights that get in here, so it gives a much clearer view. Of course, also the lighting preview doesn't account for the ambient light either, so that yeah, that always makes this a little more difficult to judge. But you know, I was pretty happy with how this ended up last week, and again, maybe it was a little too much detail work too early, but you know, I had fun doing it. Yeah, so I want to try and figure out how to get this far enough so that the player can't jump over the gate. Or maybe we do allow that? Well, no, we have to get the player through we have to get the player through the building A first to definitely make sure that they are seeing the ship, and they're going through a very specific path to do so. But maybe on the way back, like you can either go through the building here and take the long way around, or you could pickpocket the key off of this guard, or maybe we have some sort of thing for the player to shoot like a rope arrow up into and like circumvent, be able to jump over the gate. That could be fun, actually. But for now, we don't want them to jump straight over it this way. So I believe there's a player clip texture. Yes, there is. So I think the first thing I'm going to do today is move this window over to basically the very corner here, That's going to be a drop above this sort of lowered place. I don't know if I want that, so I think I'm going to push out this elevated surface here, push the stairs along with it so they're kind of lining up with where these walls end and have it kind of flare out. And then that'll give us way more room to push the gate like over here, I think. And hopefully that'll be enough room to prevent the player from jumping over. I left my water in the fridge. I'm going to get that real quick. So guess who was wrong about the cockroaches? Yeah. I don't know exactly how much I talked about that last week, but there was a opening behind my stove that was clearly where they were getting in from. And so I just kind of plugged that up with some caulking because there was this like plate that was sort of dangling there. That was obviously supposed to be screwed in. It wasn't. And for a few nights by, Sunday when I last streamed, I had gone like 4 nights without seeing a roach. And then I think on Monday night or something like that, I walked out one evening and the bathroom sink is like right next to the door to my bedroom, and I opened that up and there's just a roach on the floor there. Just a full-grown adult roach. I'm like, fuck. So I look behind the stove, and sure enough, the caulking had come loose. I think it like retracted a certain amount, so there were still like big cracks in there. So I've been sort of resealing it and trying to fix that, basically. Oh, I can just... Oh. Yeah, I can just use one brush here. Seriously, it is giving me inspiration for that economic horror game I've been toying around with. And I had another idea for that game as well, and that's something I might want to fool around with and prototype, but that's going to be a very technical thing. Because I'm gonna have to teach myself like inverse kinematics to do that, and that's gonna be quite something. It's something I'm interested in teaching myself anyway. I know there's a Gama Sutra article that goes over the basics, and it looks really interesting. I briefly scanned it and then didn't let the math enter my brain, and I was just like, yeah, this looks legit. So so yeah, imagining that with like having to live in a apartment with a roach problem you got to deal with, I think will be adequately horrific. Anyways, so yeah, now I'm at the point where I've gotten back to a couple of nights of not seeing any, but I'm still extremely paranoid about every little sort of speck that I see. And it's like, is that a coffee ground or is that like roach droppings? And like, I don't No. And most of the time it's just been, I think, I'm not sure there's been a clear cut case where I knew that it was not just coffee grounds, because, I make a lot of coffee. Are you excited for the System Shock 2 remake and System Shock 3? Well, I think it's Shock 1 first off, unless Night Dive just announced something. System Shock 3, I have a complicated history with that game. um, yeah. But yeah, not to be a Debbie Downer, but I guess I can say that, in the press it was reported that System Shock 3 has fallen apart, basically, because of layoffs at other side. Oh, this fucking thing. Off by like an eighth of a unit. Jesus Christ. There we are. This is one. I think the order you presented it in is exactly what I would do. Well, I don't need to kill System Shock 3. It's already dead. It deletes every effect, I think. Figure that out the hard way. Gek. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think once you start poking around in tools that are largely internal, they do tend to be buggy, and a lot of tools programmers kind of justify this by saying, well, it's not like the average person is going to be able to use these, so we can kind of put up with it being like less than polished. I don't really agree with that, because certainly, why should the game designers inside your studio have to be miserable while making a game? I think that, I don't know. In terms of internal stuff, I mean, Underworld Descendant was made in Unity, so we had some very small tools that were proprietary and added on, like within the Unity editor. And they were really bare bones. They weren't exactly, full-fledged things in and of themselves. So basically the room for catastrophic error really wasn't there. On the tool side, at least. But for where I'm working now, and I don't think I can go into this a ton. Well, I mean, Deck 9 Games, I believe on their website, has talked about storyteller as well as playwright, which are these two tools that are basically supposed to turn written screenplay type things into sort of gameplay logic and then put that into the engine at the end. And so that, those tools have their quirks, basically. But I don't really want to say too much about that. Because, I don't want to risk getting in trouble. But yeah, like, a lot of internal tools are just kind of like that. When you're actually, like, trying to release something more formally for, like, outside studios and actually trying to sell it as, like, you can, like, rent our tools and make a game out of it, the way that Unity and Unreal are, like, then they spend a lot of time on making that user-friendly. Because that just takes a certain amount of time. Also, if you've ever tried to make System Shock 2 levels or Thief levels, like, the pain of Drawmed. Like, do I have it on this machine? I don't know. I don't think I did after this got wiped. Maybe. Maybe it's... I should look at well, first I should look if this is good enough, basically. But yeah, okay, let's try this. The map. That's how you pronounce it, right? How do you feel about random level generation? Yeah, I want to cover that in a video someday. Not 20XX specifically, but procedural generation. Because there's a lot of different ways that you can go about approaching that. And I think for that I wanted to cover The Binding of Isaac, because if you play The Binding of Isaac enough, it becomes very apparent that they have prefab sort of rooms that they just kind of pull from, like, a deck of cards, and then they sort of add they add more, like, difficult rooms the way you go along, or they have a certain set of rooms that they pull from every, like, floor of the dungeon, because that, I think, would be very interesting to talk about. All right, jumping over here. Oh yes, and by the way, note how you can now see light there, because I guess prefabs just don't want to show their fucking lights. I think the light shining onto here is good, but I think this still needs a little something else to really indicate that this is the way forward. Okay, perfect. That works. Oh, I didn't know you could just jump up here. That's fine. Actually, maybe if there was, like, a crate or two here or something. Yeah, so the player could kind of hop up on this other side. That'd be good. Future-proofing game graphics. Oh yeah. Don't know about Fear specifically, but you know. I mean, I mostly say that just because I haven't played it. Okay. So I know the player can't make that jump now. That's good. Yeah. So I had this sticky note that I wrote a to-do list down on a couple weeks ago. So let me review this. Work on initial read, light in office, move player start. Yeah, that's basically done. Have player enter first building through second floor window, redo building interior. Yes, although that's basically two separate things. There are few hiding spaces to recover from guards spotting the player. It's too open. A means to board ship at each lock to prevent long waits. Oh, I see. Oh, a guilty pleasure game. Gosh. I really can't think of anything like that for myself. Filter, clip textures. Alright. Okay, so I think what I want to do next is Tron Evolution. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Do I have like any like PS2, PS3 games that are like that with me? Sly Cooper, Rayman. No, those are good. No, those are well made. I don't know. I do have a copy of the SpongeBob movie game with me. Maybe that qualifies. Hot Shots Golf 4. No, that actually is really good. I remember playing that so much as a kid. I was amazed about the concept of a golf game, or the way like it went about simulating that. And then I found out that like basically every golf game is like that, like the Tiger Woods PGA stuff. How's COVID-19 affecting gaming at the moment? How are you dealing with it? Well, my company has pivoted to having everyone working from home pretty quickly. I think tomorrow that'll start my 4th week from working from home, which is nice. I mean, I'm doing okay. I have did I want another stair here or no? Because there's this sort of like trapezoidal thing going on. I thought another stair might be good there. I mean, I don't know. I think game development is one of those jobs where you can work from home pretty easily. The concern that most studios just have is people inadvertently or maybe intentionally leaking things. I think that's sort of an overblown fear. But, that's still what motivates them, basically. So, I think a lot of them have just kind of accepted it, or they've taken precautions. Like, my work, like, the work machine from my office is out in my living room right now. And so they have like VPNs to access, the file, the repository, and we have our hard drives encrypted, and we need to enter a specific password for that. So, I think that's like a reasonable thing to set up in order to accommodate employees working from home. I don't know. In terms of game playing, like, I've not really been playing a ton of stuff recently. Played a little bit of Doom Eternal last week, and then Call of Duty Warzone, interestingly. Just because a friend wanted to try it out. I did want to get back to Doom Eternal as well. But what else? And I just bought this indie game, In Other Waters, last night. Because it's been on my radar for quite a while, and it finally released on Friday. Like, I don't know how like sales are being impacted. I'd imagine they're slightly better now, maybe, because people have a lot more time. But then again, people are also losing income. So, I don't know. I think that's a really broad question, and I don't have a sort of macro answer for that. I'm just going to tuck this in so we don't get the Z fighting. Oh, God. I did not set this up very well. I should specify. What's it? In Other Waters is a game that was developed by this guy, Gareth Martin, who is the editor for a site called Heterotopias. And I wrote an article for them several years back. And that's sort of how it got into my radar. So, just so people know that there's a connection there. Like, I haven't talked with him in forever. So, like, I think since the publishing of that article. So, it's not like it's not like I benefit from telling people about it. God, I would love to play Half-Life Alyx right now. I just do not have VR, and I don't really have the money right now to do that. I'm financially stable now, which is nice. But yeah, I just don't, I don't really have the machine to run it. I mean, I guess I do now that my work machine is in the living room, but that's, obviously something I don't actually own. Yeah, I think my first investment is I want to get a proper gaming tower, because this right now is what I'm working on here is a Alienware laptop. But yeah, Half-Life Alyx looks really great. I really want to try it. What am I fucking doing here? Means to board ship at each lock to prevent long waits. Right. So let's think about this. Basically, the point was if the player comes up here and they're in position to stop the ship, like here. And let's say the ship is in this lock. If they stop the canal and the ship is basically there and there's not really an easy way to board it, for this lock we have this thing set up for this drawbridge so that if the player stops it here, they can lower this, get onto the deck, get the thingy on the ship, and come back off. But basically, if the player's like, there's not really a way for the ship to board the ship in this lock. Therefore, I'm going to wait until it enters this one. They're going to be waiting for a long time. Like 8-ish minutes, I think, is the current rate. That's just 8 minutes of sitting around and being bored. So I want to make sure that we have a way for the player to get on the ship, basically. QQ. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just what I have. It was my old work laptop, actually, from my prior job, and then I bought it off of them. Because, the only other computer I had is my graduation laptop from high school that I got almost 8 years ago. Jesus Christ, that thing's old now. So yeah, I think let's add... I think we need to add some sort of thingy here. Actually, yeah, that would probably be good to add some sort of ledge that sticks out a tad. Not just to help the player make the jump onto the ship, but also to give this a little more room, and then maybe we could say better center this stuff here. Alright, so if I do something incredibly stupid and move this ship, and basically see 3 squares times 64, that is 196, I believe. 192, rather. 120. Yes. 192 units sticking out. That's basically the room we have to work with. That's also dependent on these little flaps on the side here that are sticking out. So I think if it's at a different elevation, we might actually be able to do stuff better. You know what I mean? Video games that define my childhood or young adult life. When I first got my PS2, it was the game I got with it was SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. As much as that game is kind of a meme right now, in part because of my friend Dennis. Ooh, I'm getting live communication from Justin Pappas. You don't need cranking specs. So yeah, my parents did We Need a Fourth. Okay, he's talking about Star Trek Bridge Command, I believe. So yeah, I don't know. I might play a little of that with my buddy Justin, my former coworker Justin. Well, I guess still coworker, because Albino Lullaby. So yeah, my parents did this cute thing where, well, for actually quite some time they didn't want me to get a console. But all my friends, his kids already had like a GameCube or an Xbox, and then my parents were pretty adamant about not getting me any video games. The only thing I had actually was a Game Boy Advance at that time. And so one Christmas, there were these two presents that I had wrapped under the tree. I think it was when I was 10 years old. And one said, "Open this one next to last." And the other said, "Open this last." And so I opened the one next to last, and it was a copy of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. And I saw very clearly on the case, PlayStation 2. And I was like, holy shit, and that means... And then, I ripped that open, and the final present open, and it was, a PlayStation 2. And I was overjoyed. And it sent me on this path of ruination. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for that. And more videos in the future, yes. I'm sorry it's taken so long. Sorry, I'm bumping everything. Yeah. But yes. Short answer. So, here's something interesting I want to do. It occurs to me as the player that well, first off, this stuff, this flat side of the canal, it's accurate to life, I guess, but it's really boring. It's just a straight wall, and there's nothing really going on there, level design wise. But I think I've been tossing around this idea, especially inspired by some of the architecture I saw in Boston while I was living there, especially down by Seaport. There are certain things where they have like walkways along the water, but like a building sort of comes up as like a cover, and so you've basically got this sort of tunnel with one side open, like along the waterways in certain areas. And so the thing is that another problem that I can foresee happening is the player gets on the ship here, and then they jump off into the water. And then it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? I'm basically stuck. Um, and that I don't like either. There needs to basically be some recovery path, which is sort of the technical term. Um, there needs to be a way, I think, to let the player get back up. Either that, or if the player falls in the water, it's just like a kill volume, but I don't want to do that because that doesn't seem very realistic. So I think what I want to do, and I've been thinking about having some interesting feature like this for a while, architectural feature, I mean. I think I want to get some sort of lower down walkways and docks along here. And so this solves, I think, three problems at once. First, it gives the player a way out. Second, this is less flat and boring. Sort of like a terrace thing. You know what I mean? You'll see. We'll get to it. And third, I think this will help, especially along these long, straight paths, to give sort of side routes along here and letting the player sort of duck under so that they can go down and find places to hide, or at least find like an alternate path, you know? So I think I want to commit to doing a little of that today. That seems fine. 45 minutes in, I'm finally like, let's. I think I know what to do. I know what I want to do today. Speaking of SpongeBob. So yeah, I think this adding a surface that sticks out here sort of prompted that. I think that melds pretty well with what I want to do. So let's do that. So I think this is the only... No, this is part of a group func static. What do you think of game fans and their effects on the games they're fans of? It's depends on what you're going for, really. There's the concept of something called player-centric design. Which is sort of adapted from this book, The Design of Everyday Things, which is more about products. But the last chapter in that book is called the user-centric design. And basically the idea is that, you are paying attention to the player and their reactions to the game. You are paying attention to how they react and how smoothly they sort of learn and pick up on ideas that you're introducing in the game. And this is basically the basis of why we do play testing. And so, sort of in that regard, like, yes, game devs pay attention to fans and the players a lot. So I guess that's one way you could kind of argue that that's the effect, but I think what you're getting at more is probably like the community aspect. And obviously that can go either way. If you have a game like, say, Little Big Planet or Dreams more recently, where, um, or even, like the Animal Crossings now, where the goal of the game is to basically have the community sort of be the content of the game, or a large part of the content of the game, then obviously you need to pay attention to these people a lot, and make sure that they are sort of conducting themselves in the way that is conducive with what you want to do with the game. So, for example, with Animal Crossing, it is a bunch of collaboration, and community, and coming together, because you like talk with people, and it's just like, oh well, I have this supply on my island, so if you need it, like, you can come over, and then you might say, like, oh well, I have this thing, do you need any of this? I'll exchange that with you. And this sort of collaboration and bartering, and very much having a sort of developing like healthy exchanges in relationships, which I think is quite an admirable goal for a game. I think kind words is a similar concept. In terms of, say, like hype and stuff like that, clearly that's something I'm less interested in and less into, and certainly a big reason why I started this channel is to sort of elucidate as to like how games get made and all the thought process that goes into designing games. Because I feel like, that kind of gets undervalued, but it's also tough because it's hard to explain exactly what goes into designing games. So, I think a lot of the negative backlash is just like, or a lot of the negative aspects and demands of fans is basically people not understanding that there's a whole ass process that goes into making video games, and making certain changes that people may demand in certain cases is not as simple as one might think. So yeah, I think if there was a greater transparency about how games are made and the whole production process, then things would probably be a lot healthier online. And so part of the reason why I want to make this channel is to hopefully contribute to that. Part of it is the channel is also just I wanted to be better, and so I basically wanted to teach myself, or help educate myself in terms of like analyzing games, breaking down why levels are the way they are. So it's both self-improvement and hopefully improvement of the community in some small part. Now, what exactly do I want the shape to do? Because I think it might be fun to have pardon me. I think basically what I want to have here is maybe a staircase down, a landing here, And I kind of want a staircase to wrap around here as well and create an even lower landing. So we kind of get a zigzag going there, or like half a spiral. But the thing is also, I think I want. Well, I don't know if this is going to be wide enough for like two full-fledged staircases. But also, I think I kind of want a little of that carved out area and carved out space. So I think I might like also carve into this and have a staircase down, and then they both meet back at this like lower landing here. So we kind of get like a weird like loop that also goes back up here. I think that's fun. And I think that'll be good for stealth purposes. Cyberpunk, I'm not really hyped for, mostly just because I don't really like. They're trying to make it like The Witcher but sci-fi, quite apparently, and I just haven't played The Witcher yet. And Final Fantasy VII, not really either. It has been a long ass time since I played the first one. And even then, I don't think I finished it. No, I didn't. Definitely not. I got, I think, to the last disc, and that was what appeared to be the final string of encounters, because the comet was there, and we were going down some sort of swirling thingy. And there were like these surreal enemy encounters, like there were these sort of anthropomorphic, or rather, we were fighting like pieces of furniture that were somehow alive, you know. And yeah, that spiked in difficulty, I think, if I recall. So yeah, I kind of gave up at that point. How wide would this be? 160? Would 80 be wide enough? I don't know. I probably prefer 96. Well, the player's 32 by 32, right? So this is... Meepus. You know what I mean. I don't know what I mean. That's not... I don't think that's as steep as 30 degrees, but I'm fine with that for now. Yeah. Actually, let's try... Yeah, like 96 units, and then we'll go from there, I think. Oh, that is exactly half. So if I add a railing... This is 192 high with that slope, and 192. Perfect. Matched it. What do you think contributes to the design choices that most people agree are bad? And agree that it's obviously bad, but still included in a game. Oblivion's leveling system, for example. Can you imagine the thought process for the creation of that leveling system? Oblivion seems so obviously terrible. I did not play a ton of Oblivion, so I cannot remember what leveling was like. I think the thing I remember most about Oblivion is being absolutely perplexed by the fucking conversation system. Not that the game is bad. That's why it hurts so much if I play. Well, you know, it's player-centric design, but the thing is that you know, sometimes you could just be off the mark, or sometimes you may not have gotten the resources in order to actually carry through with what you want. So, for example, with the Oblivion leveling thing, I don't know if, say, other designers really approach problems the way I do. Because I think, like, you know, if you ask, like, 20 designers to design a level for a game, you're going to get 20 different, like, approaches. So, like, I'm not sure what the process for, say, someone working on Oblivion was. But the thing is, I think what they were trying to do, most likely, is that with leveling, they were trying to encourage a certain sort of behavior out of the player. Because I know when I do stuff, or when I try to design games, or at least like getting the experience through making these videos for the channel, I've started to realize how like behavior centric game design is, in terms of trying to get the players to do certain things and build certain habits, and then trying to steer them away from certain others. I think the leveling system in Oblivion was probably put there because they were like, well, we want to encourage the player to do something a certain way. But the problem is with something like that, especially in a game that dense, you are probably it's very difficult to slot something like that, or a system like that, into a game that huge and have it just go perfectly. Because it probably conflicts with what a lot of other systems are trying to do. And so that sounds like where there could be potential for conflict. Again, I don't know exactly what it's trying to do or how it works necessarily. But I could definitely see myself being like, oh, well, I want to add this thing to a game. And then players sort of pick up on that and sort of abuse it in certain ways to do something that, you know, I wouldn't have intended in the game. And, you know, I could easily see myself like falling into that trap as well. So, you know, I think that there, but for the grace of God go I. Yeah. Does all of this need to be world spun? Probably not. I'll figure that out later. Actually, I don't really want the player going back here. That's kind of why the building's there. But if the player falls into this lock, that means that there would need to be some similar structure over here. And I don't want it to necessarily just be like, you know, boom, boom, boom. So yeah, I might move this over to the other side, basically, is what I'm saying. Woo! Alright. But for now, I just want to test this out and get a feel for it. My leg fell asleep. Favorite game OST? Lee. That's tough. Pathologic and Pathologic 2 are quite good. But the only game soundtracks that have actually made it onto my phone and that I've listened to like on their own is the System Shock 2 soundtrack. Excuse me. Which came with the game. But then the only one that I've actually made a point of purchasing was the soundtrack for this game called the Norwood Suite. I got that game for free because the prior studio that I was working at got emailed out of the blue by this guy. Oh, dude. You can just click and drag on the... Oh my god. How did I not know something this basic? Holy shit. Okay, obviously this is gonna be tricky because, you know, of weird camera angles. This thing kind of shifts back a little. But oh my god. You just click and drag directly on this. Holy shit. Oh my god. That's amazing. Oh, what? No. Oh, and then you can... Oh. Right. This doesn't seem to be as intuitive as I would have hoped, but that's neat. What? Oh, whoa. That doesn't seem to affect the sides that are being selected here to be rescaled. So yeah. I got the Norwood Suite for free because the creator, Cosmo D, emailed a bunch of keys to my old studio, and I got one. And I was like, this game rules, and the soundtrack is amazing. So I want to purchase it to support this guy, and I did. So that's the only one I've ever purchased. So if you like really weird, eclectic stuff, the Norwood Suite has a fucking banging soundtrack. And Cosmo just put out a new game called Tales from Off-Peak City, Volume 1. Which similarly has a really great soundtrack. I actually sat in on... He had like a listening party for it on YouTube where he kind of streamed it a couple weeks ago. .96 high, right? Because player's 72, right? So, yeah, that'll give us enough room, I think. 96 high. And Fable, I've not played Fable. So I can't comment on its soundtrack. The Deus Ex one has some real highlights. That I mean, everyone loves the UNATCO theme because how could you not? But I think that there's one for the naval shipyard which has these very interestingly like mournful strings in them, and I just love them. Couldn't tell you why. I can tell you why they took that approach for that song for a level like that, but you know, it works in my opinion.
I've made the most amazing discovery. Oh, wanker.
Sorry, I'm losing it. Yep, 96. That's good. See, now you got me singing it. Being a big old goof. This, I think, definitely needs to be world spawn now. So this one in particular. these probably as well. Oh, I think I can just move this back. Yeah, buddy. There we go. Sorry, a little tired. I've been going to bed later and later. I don't know why. Alex Brandon. I think I've heard the name before, which is not surprising because I played Deus Ex. There was the... Yeah, there was also the... was it... Grim Fandango soundtrack by Peter McConnell. And I only know his name because I remember I had to get my friend to help me crack a copy of Grim Fandango. Because this was in the time before they did the remaster, and it was a real pain to get a hold of. I think I could vary this up a little bit. Like, if I basically make some stairs off of here, then, you know, these stairs and these stairs are basically just gonna start and end at the same location, or start and end at the same, you know, point along this axis, and I want this to be a little more interesting. I also want this to feel a little more enclosed. Clearly adding a wall here is going to help with that, but that didn't help. Oh. Maybe a little further. So basically we just get like a short corner here landing before we zip on up.
Oh, call Abigail.
Sorry. Disco Elysium popped into my head for some reason. Disco Elysium similarly has a pretty good soundtrack. I think it just won Best Sound at the BAFTAs. Which, good for it. Good for them. Fuck yeah. That rules. I think for games that I am hyped about, I don't really get too excited or invested in games that are about to come out anymore. I really haven't for a while. Or, typically it's like maybe one a year that I'm like, oh, I need to get this. But I think right now there's, they just announced the new Amnesia, which I am really interested in seeing what they do with that. Okay, that's good. And then there's my buddy Dylan's game, Gloomwood. I'm really excited to see what he does with that. I can't think of too many other games that I'm even aware that are coming out in the near future. This is how wide? It's like 64 units. We can go a little wider. There we go. So this is a weird bit of geo, but I want to play around with it. See if we can have some fun with it. The sailing ships, the Outer Rim. It might be fun to have a guard moving around here. How tall is this? It's 112, and one less will be 96. So I'm going to keep the heights consistent here at least. And obviously, sticking a light here or two. A light or two here. Would be advantageous. But I think we'll determine that after we build in it and play around with it. I'm going to demap this and use the restroom real quick.
Don't call Abigail.
I don't know why I find that guy so funny. I just think he's quite an amusing character. All right, so I'm just gonna fly through here so we can get the ship started. Schmeepus. I think if we move the ship a little over to the right there, that would definitely help. Something just occurred to me. Can the player jump out of the window here? I mean, I guess at this point I don't need them to do anything. I'm just... Oh my god. Oh, they can. That's interesting. What do we think? Do we think that's valid? Okay, so this will be a good time to test this because this is where the water actually will get raised here. Ship it. Awesome. Heh. Anyways. Yeah, I don't think the water's going to come up anywhere close to the bottom there. Does this feel okay? Well, I would want to add a railing here, basically. I should have done that before I jumped in the game. Well, it's going to feel a little tighter because of that, but, you know. This is certainly low, a very low ceiling. But I can't really make it much higher. I will say, however, that these abstract forms of architecture do feel genuine to the original Thief games. Just like, what is this place? I don't know. No, it's just fun. Kind of width feels good. It's kind of like a big dead end for the player, unless they can like. I'll probably put some sort of rail there. I mean, we can kind of get up these stairs. Yeah, I just want to wait for the ship to come by here and see what sort of interplay we can get between this geo and jumping on and off the ship. Excuse me. Like I said, we'll be waiting for a while. Is this actually raised high enough for me to... Maybe. Is it still raising, or are we... No, I think it is. Woo! Not quite. Well, the player needs to be able to climb out of here, even if they are... even if the water is basically at the lowest point it will be. So we basically need to plan for that worst case scenario. So yeah, I don't know. Having maybe ladders along here or a small causeway. Whoops. Boy. Well... At least I found that bug now. Great. Yeah, that's a good thing to catch. I think I can just extend the boundary of that lower and it'll be fine. As long as the origin doesn't move, then the transform of the water will be fine. We'll still be at the height that I needed to. Player can swim out of the bottom of the water volumes. Okay. Right, because... Oh, whoops. Wrong keys. Because basically the water was in line with that horizontal line down there on the texture, and now it's up to here. So yes, it's been... Oh, this is the top level, basically. Actually, this is really handy, because that gives me a guide. Still can't mantle onto here though, so. I'm just gonna no clip out of here. Okay, so yeah, first, does this lock actually... Okay, we are nowhere near the boundary of this piece of architecture, so that's good. This is gonna cut it close. This is also going to make the sneaky transitions a little more difficult. Oh, right. No. Right, those only happen on the inside of the ship. Going from the inside to the outside. So getting on and off the ship just got a lot easier. At least from that side. From here... Alright, I can test out the objectives here. So... Oh, yeah, that snaps a lot. Grab this book. The MacGuffin. It has been a long-ass time since I've actually been in the ship here. It's quite remarkable. So yeah, I think I want a parallel structure like that over here. Wow, that didn't work. So yeah. Right now I believe the giant ass clip volume for completing the get back onto land or escape the ship objective is only on that side. Which basically means that if the player gets onto this side of the canal and the ship moves into the end trigger there, that basically tells the player that they failed. Then that's then the player will fail even though they're off the ship here, and that's no fun. So I'm gonna have to fix that. I think I can just add another objective trigger onto this side of the onto this side of the canal. And that'll just do it. Yeah, see. Yeah, see. Because we don't have a key set up for this yet. And boom. Okay, so what do I think of that? I think that made that actually really easy. And I don't know. I mean, like, because I have, say, a designer's knowledge of this map, because it's my map, I know exactly where to go. And maybe that's what's making it easy for me. And so maybe if, like, someone actually plays through this, it'll be the appropriate difficulty or even too hard still. In terms of time pressure. Yeah, I don't know. I might tuck these in like I might tuck this in a certain amount, like 64 units or something. Yeah. And actually, this will line up pretty well with adding a railing here. That'll be good. And this all of a sudden gets gets cut off there. I think that makes this walkway too narrow, though. I might just do without it. And then just have the player go through underneath there. So I can just get rid of that. Stretch this down. I think down to there. Yes. I need to pull this out a little. Yep. Maybe pull this in a tad. Or just have it like line up basically with this. As well as this here. Although there's not really, say if there were, you know, a guard that would kind of spiral down, up and down this staircase. If the player were here, there's really no place to hide. So I think I want to add, well, maybe I'll still have this flared out a bit. And I think I want this to add, yeah, stretch out a little more. And maybe pull that in. Yeah. Maybe not that much. Because I want a 45-degree angle, but I don't want it sticking out really far. So why don't we do 144? That's, and this will be 144, I think. No, that's 160. So do that. No, not surface. I've forgotten all the hot keys. All of a sudden. Yeah. This is a little better.
Just a tad.
And yeah, that's the extra 64 that I had basically. So actually, let's rein this in a bit. I want to push these in so this corner is not so pronounced. Actually get a little more surface area. Yeah, way better. Okay. And then, yeah, I think some sort of, instead of deleting that slip, I just moved it over here. That would have been good. I will move this down. These are lining up. That's good. That, I think, is actually pretty close to 30. Okay. Yeah, so there's our walkway thingy. Okay, so if I stretch that out, yeah, the origin seems to be basically the same point. So, yeah. So that's good. So I can just adjust that if needed. And if I bring it up here, I believe, that's where it stopped moving upwards, because I think that's like 256 units. Yeah, it's still intersecting with that. Oh, whoops. It's still intersecting with the brush at the bottom. This one only... This one lowers. And then raises back up, so... And it already extends to the bottom here, so we don't really need to worry about this one. So I guess that means the only other one I need to do this for is this one. Which, cool. Pardon me. I think I only need to bring that down to 56. Yeah, all right. All right. I think having a bit of a light here would be good. Or maybe several lights. Because I really do like lights that are kind of along the water. It's just something very calm and tranquil. Whenever I see that in real life, you know. So Just like that. Then adding, yeah, like one here, maybe on the corners. Model. Ooh. Those don't mount onto a wall, or they don't mount onto
a base surface.
But I do think this is very evocative of perhaps a ritzier part of town. I really like that. Yeah. Lantern sitting. Ship lamp. Or, something like this, actually. I think is a little more fitting. The prior one got a little warlocky, you know? Harbor spotlights. We probably won't need that. Standing lantern. Stantern, if you will. I don't know what that means. Unattached, wall light outdoors. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I won't commit to having that stuff on the railings. But I will definitely use this because it looks so cool. She moves with a purpose. Sorry, that's Black Midi. If you are familiar with the band. No, not what I wanted. Create a light color. I don't know. 0, 0, 0. But instead, we're gonna have this be basically off-white. Just the tiniest hint of yellow. Maybe a less tiny hint of yellow. Oh, whoops, I see. I was doing it wrong. Yeah. Yeah, like that. Certainly don't want it to be poking onto, whoops, onto the actual ground over here. Because that would be bad. I don't know if that'll actually affect the shader on the lights there, but hopefully it will. And for this, I think I want no shadows. And I think the projected texture would be good. A projected texture. Oh, right, I can just use L. Just the big round. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Looks really neat. I think I want a guy over there. Good stuff. Whoops. That. Looks static. Yeah, at a 30-degree angle, this was way shorter. That's fine. Right. I wanted to set up the AI here. Oh, Monster Club, not Player Club. Player's fine. name. Lock to causeway. I'm not even sure if this sort of thing would be called a causeway, but suppose it is now. Two. All right, I got to factor in waiting periods. Where would those go? Probably one. Nah. Oh, right. Forgot about this handy little guy. Control K, setting up a link. Come on. here, basically. And then, I don't know, do we want this guy to go up here and down again? I think so. Actually, yeah, fuck it. Oh, I didn't think it would just add one. That would actually replace it. Whoops. Have this be a little longer so this guy can look out. Oh, good. It's 8 to 12, I think. 10 and 15. Cool. All right. Then maybe add some lamps in here, like 1 or 2. I think this is where we can start adding extinguishable lamps. Chandeliers. Flame stands. Odd. Oh, gas lights. Look at that. I think this fits. Though I think that there is a... I think for this you got to set up like the flame effects and the light, and having the light be linked to this thing getting hit with a water arrow. I'm trying to remember. Maybe there are prefabs for this stuff already. Whoops. There we go. Whoa, look at that. Didn't know they had a prefab for that. That's so cool. And what is... Oh. Is that like a... Is that like some sort of VFX? Oh, that's so cool. That seems like a way smarter way of lighting that. Oh, I see. Gosh, I'm just learning a lot today. Sconce candle. Swinging fancy lamp. Chandelier. Oil lamp, light down, industrial hanging, industrial wall, yeah. Light beam, yeah. I'm just gonna create a light there. Right. I wanted... Yeesh. No. Oh, double round. That might be for the two bulbs of light outside. Ambient big round. Square light. Yeah. Is there a VFX thingy? Decorative? Yeah, no. I feel like these reads compete, or these lights compete in the read, rather. It's difficult because all these path nodes are in the way. They're very glaring. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Just a tad more in here so we don't get light overlap. towards ceiling here would be good. Although now I feel like I need to call out this edge, you know. Make it way more clear that this is you know, sort of this overhang here. Yeah, well, that definitely helps. I don't know if this is like too wide for a torch in this room, but you know. Ah, whoops. In a way, this is sort of the hiding area for this, for the middle of this segment. I'm not sure it is extremely apparent how in the dark this is, you know. Oh well. Let's try it. Gonna zip on over here. Never catch me. Just looking over there. That place specifically is a little flat because of the two lights that are working there. He's trying to chase me. Okay, so I basically want to see if I can sneak up and down.
Smells like pig filth in here.
This guy's taking a sweet time.
Moving?
Hello. Is there something wrong with his pathing?
A noise.
Oh god, this was way more orange in the editor. Jeez.
What that is?
Okay, so if he's not moving around.
That noise.
Why is that? Did I forget a link here or something? No. No, I didn't. That's a world spawn. This is a world spawn. What's going on here? What is going on here? World spawn, world spawn. This is bizarre. And he shouldn't really be like he shouldn't go up there immediately. He should be going to this node, which should take him down and then back up. Although it did take me a while to get. It took me a while to get there. Let me test this. We're coming up on time for this week, though, so if it's not like immediately apparent what's going on, I might just leave this for next week. Alright, took care of the water lines. I'm going to zoom over immediately. And he's not going down there. Oh. I think I might have messed up with that clip volume. So let me unhide that. Oh, that's still player clip. Yeah, no wonder. I thought I reassigned that texture. Good news, everyone. It was immediately apparent. Sorry, that's Disco Elysium again. Zoom on over there. The light is slightly more orangey, I think. And yeah, I think so. I think this is it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, no wonder he was trying to get on top of here and then go down, basically, because it was attempting to calculate a route from there. Which, obviously, it's not going to work. So he just got stuck there. I think with that shiny window there, there should be at least a little more of a glow around there to sort of simulate the emissiveness, the light pouring out of the sides of the windows. Okay, buddy.
What a bugger.
Is this still a problem? Um, huh. It's odd. And to just triple check. That is world spawn. It's supposed to be between 8 and 12 seconds. Because it's supposed to go to causeway weight 2. That's this. This goes to corner 10. And that's this. This is bizarre. So it feels like a pathfinding failure of some sort. I don't know exactly what it is. Thought we'd fixed it. Guess not. Or at least we fixed one aspect of it that was completely unrelated. Anyways. Yeah. I think I'll just end here for now. Not a satisfying way to stop. But, yeah. Come back to this problem next week with a refreshed and rejuvenated brain. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next Sunday. All right, bye.